Okay, so now a little bit about characters. The main thing to keep in mind, actually, the basic thing, is to avoid confusion. So many people would like to give their character several names, like, uh, let's say your character is called Michael Kaplan, lieutenant at the Galactic Army, uh, who's also the dad of somebody. And then early on in the story, you talk about Michael and about Lieutenant Captain and about Dad, and you have to make it really clear that this is the same person you're talking about, and it can quickly get very confusing. So the thing is, you really need to do enough hand holding to help the reader along. Like if you put he, it has to be clear for the reader from context who the person is, and it's good to err on the side of clarity rather than the side of ambiguity. And that brings me to a related point, namely that your characters need to be distinguished. You have to avoid that they're all the same. Like suppose you have your intergalactic army, and you have a captain and a lieutenant and private such or so, and except for their titles, they're all the same, and they all didn't describe them. They don't seem to have sort of separate things that make them distinguished. Now, one common solution for that is what Neil Gaiman calls funny hats. So you give them a metaphorically, not really, a funny hat so that you can distinguish the characters. So to give an example, Watership Down is a novel by Richard Adams about rabbits. And you might think, well, rabbits are all the same, but he does an effort to make all the rabbits different. So there's a rabbit called Bigwig. He's big and strong, and he's distinguished by a tuft of hair, a tuft of fur between his ears, and moreover, he's sort of gruff, but also sort of golden heart, but exterior tough sort of guy. And then you have Fiver, who is small and has all these prophetic visions, and then you have Silver, a rabbit that's mainly distinguished by the fact that he has a silver coat rather than the usual brown coat, and so on. So all these rabbits are quite different, even though they're all rabbits. So you have to give your characters distinguishing characteristics, both in their demeanor and in their physical appearance, to make them different, and that will help your reader to go along. Now, how do you develop these characters? Well, you can get sources of inspiration from everywhere, but it usually doesn't work to sort of say, oh, I really like this person is really interesting. Let's just sort of import her into the story, because it'd be really nice to have my mathematics teacher into the story. I still have nightmares about her. She was a formidable sort of person, and that can work, but usually you do need to adapt, and the character has to grow with the story. And you just need to listen to the character sort of when you write the dialogue, sort of, at least internally, and even, if you're not shy, you could just read it aloud and see, do these people actually sound different? What does my character sound like? And that way you can let your characters come to life. And then finally you can ask, why is my character like this? Suppose that you write this story about this Lieutenant Michael Kaplan, and yeah, he's just, a white man in his 30s, but then you can think like, why do I have this particular character? And particularly, so it's often interesting to sort of think beyond the default and think, would it be interesting to make that main character a woman in her early 60s or a teenage girl? Like, you would need to change, obviously, the rules of the military and the like to make that plausible. Or a lizard, a space lizard or something. So you could always sort of think like, why is my character like that? Why are my characters like that? And sort of see what works best. And don't sort of slip just into defaults. It's just interesting to mix it up. And that reminds me of that meme that was going around, like, why is the heroine always a teenage girl? Why can't it be like a mother in her early 40s? Why wouldn't she be somebody who could be adventuring and doing interesting things? And why not? So you could have all sorts of interesting side effects of an unusual character choice.